Hi everyone, my name's Kuren from Omnitas. We're Monday.com's UK #1 platinum partner. With me, we've also got my colleague Robbie also joining. Say hi, Robbie.
Hi guys.
Perfect. So Robbie's going to be manning the chat box. If you've got any questions throughout this webinar, please feel free to drop him a message and he's going to be more than happy to help. So in today's webinar, we've got a very fun lineup. We're combining two very interesting topics. We're going to show you how you can build a sales CRM step by step within the Monday.com platform in the very fun context of dating itself. Now, we all know how painful sort of dating can be, whereby you collect your lead from dating applications like Hinge, for instance. You collect your lead, you talk to them for a bit, and then you convert that lead into an actual date itself. So you go on date 1, date 2, date 3, until eventually you're going out with that person, i.e. that's a closed won opportunity. Now, of course, there is a bit of a numbers game as well with this. Not everything always converts. You might end up in a situationship or even just a pure friendship as well. But let's get stuck straight into it. So on my screen over here, you can see the main Monday.com platform. On the left-hand side, we've got various boards that I've created. Now, just for context as well, for those who are unfamiliar with Monday.com, Monday.com is a very powerful workflow management platform. You can pretty much build out any process in the system and make it even more powerful using things like automations. Automations are, I suppose, the clues in the name. It allows you to kind of automate tasks which otherwise you would have to do manually. So on the left-hand side, I've created 3 boards. We've got our matches, which is our leads. This is where we're matching with people. Then that's going to get converted into actual dates itself. And then I've also got a third board called Contact Book. Now, this is just going to be a board where we can add a lead to this, and we can add their contact details and save them for later. So I'm just going to go into this first board over here. So let's explain what's going on. We've got a list of our matches: Tiffany, Patricia, Mary, Katie. We've got their locations, again, super important because we need to know where to organize this date. We've got our status column as well. So again, this is going to be the stage of where that lead is at. Are they in the nurture stage? Is it a new lead? Are we in contact with them? We've got match date, their email address, phone number, gut feel. You know, how do we actually feel about this person from a scale of 0 to 100%? And then we've got a meeting update as well, if that of course has been organized. Now, there's a few things that we can start doing already around this. We might already be interested in understanding how many days have actually passed since the match date itself. The reason why that's going to be super interesting for us is because if we've matched with someone ages ago, let's say 60 days or more, and that lead hasn't converted into a date or a deal, then maybe we shouldn't be talking to that person anymore. And so we can start building out formulas quite easily directly in the system. So I'm just going to click on this add column over here. I'm going to click on this formula button. And here I could just say, count the number of days between today, for instance, and the actual match date itself. It's going to close off that function. And one thing as well that I always need to do is also add the round function as well. This is just to make sure that we're rounding this figure to a whole number. Great. So we probably just want to edit that as well, put a -1 there as well, so it's coming up with the right figures. So great. So now we've got the number of days that have elapsed since the match date. So in the case of 14th of November, 14 days have elapsed. I'm just going to rename this and call it days elapsed since match date. We could also start adding some conditional formatting as well around this. So our eyes can then easily divert to where we need to be looking. So I can click on conditional formatting over here. I can then say, well, I want to select the days elapsed, and let's say that's going to be more than or the same as, it could be 30 days, could be 60 days, doesn't really matter. And boom, there we go. So Mary, 117 days have elapsed since the match date. So we want to save this as a new view as well. Every time we're adding things like conditional formattings to our actual tables, we always want to make sure that we're doing this. So I'm just going to call this default. And again, we could set this as our favorites. We could set it as a board default view as well. So every time we're going into this board, it's going directly into this view. So I'm just going to click on add favorites there. And there's a few other things as well that we can start building out with this. So for instance, we've got our contact book. You know, we could start saying, okay, well, let's build out an automation so that every time we're interested in an actual contact, that's then being copied into this specific board. Again, super simple to be able to do this. Click on this plus sign over here, click on more columns, and I could add this button. Let's give this a couple of seconds as well to load. And then we'll be able to set up the automation straight from this. So if I click set up, when button clicked, then, and we could say, create item in board. And then that board is going to be the contact book board that we created. And when I click onto that button over there, it's then going to say, what columns do you want to map over to that new board? In this case, it all looks right, all seems to line up. So I'm going to click done. Click create automation, and boom, there we go. So I could say add to contacts. So let's give this a go. If I click on Tiffany to add contacts, we're going to see her name appear. Now, one really, really interesting feature that I want to demonstrate with the actual platform itself is the ability to do deduplication as well. So imagine I've accidentally clicked on Tiffany add to contacts too many times. Now, if I go onto here and click on contact book, we can now see we've got several Tiffany's popping up. In this case, it's super easy to be able to deduplicate rows on this. All I need to do within the sales CRM module is go on these three dots on the top right, and then I can go on more actions, manage duplicates, select the column name, hit search, click on the bottom box, merge items, and straight away now we've now consolidated all of that to just one item. There's a few other things as well that we can also do with this. So we could also add forms if we want to do that. Again, super easy. Just click on this plus sign over here, click on forms, and straight away you can type in names, location, etc., etc. And then this table over here is going to automatically populate. Now, in the case of dating, I mean, this could be used if you're at a speed dating event, let's say. Of course, in a sort of corporate setting as well, this could be used at conferences, etc., etc. All of these fields, by the way, is really easy to be able to edit. You can make some fields mandatory. You can add your own company logo. You can change the background. You can do whatever you want with it. Now, so if I go back to our actual table over here, let's try and automate this a little bit more and make this a little bit more exciting. So on the top right, I'm just going to go straight to automations, click on add new automation, and then we can start building this out further. So what I could do is I could say, well, when status changes to something, then let's do something. When I click on a status and I say, let's say it's unqualified, for instance, then maybe I want to move that item into a new group. So one of those groups that we had was that hidden group. So I could click on create automation over here, and let's give this a go. So if I click on here and say, well, Katie, she's actually, no, let's do it for Mary. Actually, we've got 117 days have passed, so she's probably the most likely to be unqualified. So let's click on unqualified there, and we should see her then move down to this hidden group as so. There's a few other things as well. I mean, even that process that I just did, maybe some people might think of that as too manual. Maybe they want Mary to automatically move down after a certain period of time, and we can do that directly in the system. We can go straight into this, click on add new automation, And we could say when date arrives, then let's do something. So when, let's say 60 days after the match date arrives, then let's move that item into the hidden group. So let's create the automation like that. So again, really, really powerful platform. Now let's go on to the last stage, which is what happens once we qualify a lead. So we can set up multiple automations for that as well. I could go in here, do when status changes to something, then let's do something. So when status changes to qualified, we then want to actually move that item to, we probably don't want to move it to a group, we probably want to move it to a board. So let's give this a go. And this board is going to be on the dates board. And again, we just want to make sure that this mapping is going to be right. Perfect. So all looks good. Click done. And then the last thing as well, we probably want to copy over that contact as well into the actual contact book that we had. So create item in board. And then this board is going to be contact, contact book. Make sure that that mapping is all good as well. And then click create automation. So now, when I click X on this, let's say I'm interested in Katie and we now want to qualify her. We're now going to see Katie move over to this dates or deals board that we can see, but then we're also going to see her populated within the actual contact book itself. There's a few other types of views as well that you can have with this actual platform. So for instance, if I want to, I can go straight into this and I could say, let's open up Tiffany and let's build out different types of views. Again, fairly simple to do. Scroll up, go to these three dots, click edit layout and content. This is one that I always forget as well. So always remember you do this. Click on this plus sign over here, and then you can do things like item cards. So I'm just going to go into this. And here you've got all of those columns that were viewable in the table, but you can also do a lot more. So again, I'm just going to edit that layout, click add widget, and then you could also have a deal stage flow as well. Again, this is going to be super important if you are managing an actual sales flow of items. This looks like it probably needs some editing as well. So if I just click X onto this, let's just bring it up to the top here. Click on the settings button over here, and then you can move things around as well. So let's have a look. You probably want to have a qualified, but the final phase label, we could keep that as closed, but then here we go. So we can start having labels for the complete button, and an incomplete button could be unqualified, for instance. So we can start clicking on these buttons as well to kind of fast track things. We've also got the ability as well to say, well, this is a new lead, and I can push this right to the top. So as you can see, we can also change the order of the different deal stages within this funnel. Now I'm just going to click X over here. The second piece that you can do is you can also scroll down all the way and click on emails and activities. Again, this is a super important feature. Not only can you send out emails directly within the Monday.com system, but if you've got integrations as well built out with, let's say, Outlook, Gmail, or anything like that, then every time you're sending an email, in this case to Tiffany via your own email client like Outlook or Gmail, that email can automatically be attached to this actual contact card itself. In this, you can go onto new email, for instance, and then you can also start building out templates. So if I'm feeling a little bit old-fashioned and I want to send Tiffany an email, maybe I want to go for the age-old "How are you?" And I could say, "Hi, Tiffany. How are you?" and then I could save this as a template. So I could call this message one, dating, something like that. I've gone in the search box by accident. There we go. Perfect. So I can save this and I can always come back to that later and then just use the same line again and again on different people. I probably don't want to say, hi, Tiffany. I probably actually want to use a dynamic field for this. So what you can do, and this is what makes Monday.com super interesting, is clicking on this columns button over here and then clicking on just the item name. So then that name is automatically populating, but the benefit of that is that you could use the same email again and again for different contacts. I'm just going to click X over here. And that kind of leads me on to my next point, which is also mass mailing. Again, this is a feature which is exclusive to the Monday.com sales CRM. So you can click on this button over here. And let's say we wanted to highlight all of the contacts within this case, the matches group. And I can go down here and click on mass email. And again, we can go ahead, we can create different templates, etc., and send out emails en masse to a bunch of people. Now I'm just going to click X out of that. And I'm going to go into our dates and deals board. Before I do that, actually, there's actually one last view that I want to show. It's a little bit fun and it's just a different way of being able to visualize things. When we speak to companies all the time, they like to kind of manage their work in lots of different ways. One of the ways of being able to do that is also the llama farm. So I can go in here and I can click on open a new board. And we can start visualizing tasks, or in this case, the leads that we're managing as individual llamas. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to make sure that the color of the llama is going to be based on the status. So we've got Tiffany as a llama. We've got Patricia as a llama walking around. We can also change their colors, right? So if I said Patricia is in the nurture stage, we're now going to have Patricia being colored as orange. Now I can click into those particular llamas, or in this case, people, and I can click into them and I can actually view the item card itself, and I can make my edits there as well. Just showing you kind of like a few fun ways as well of how to actually use the system. I'm going to click X right there. And the next piece I'm going to show you is going to be what happens once we qualify a lead. So this is where it goes into our dates and deals board. Now over here, again, typical fields that we've got the date, we've got the location of where those people are. Of course, all these people are qualified, the match date, meeting update, all the fields that we had before. We've also got this rating column as well that I've added. So we might say we feel on a personal level, we feel, our gut feel is saying it's 80% good for Joanne, but in terms of a date as well, it's actually 5 stars out of 5 so far. Great. I've also added another column as well with different stages. So date 1, date 2, date 3, eventually going out, or are things ending up in a situation kind of friendship zone? There's a few things, right, that you can start doing around this. So for a lot of us, when we build tables in Monday.com, and I've seen this before with clients, you might have to scroll endlessly to the right, and it can not be kind of like the easiest system to use when you build it like that. One way of getting around that is just by hiding certain columns. So in this case, maybe we don't necessarily need this first status column, and maybe we don't necessarily need now this first match date now that this lead has been converted into this stage. So I can click on this hide button over here and hide those particular fields. Again, it's just a lot easier on the eyes. It's a lot easier just to look at it like this. Again, super easy. If I wanted to kind of go into it and open that as an item card, you can easily do that. So click on the 3 dots as before, click on edit layout, go down here. And again, I've got this item card view. And again, I can view those initial columns that I then hid. I'm going to click X over here. And we might want to start building out a few other things as well with this. So we probably want to have a weighted average. between the gut feel and the rating. So we're going to use another formula. And I can come in and I could say, right, let's take this gut feel. And I might say I want it to have a weighted average of, let's say 60%. And I want the rating to have a weighted average of 40%. So I can come in here, do that plus, and I could say, let's take this rating and let's times that by 40%. Now, before I hit enter, it's worth noting that the gut feel is a percentage out of 100%. The rating isn't, it's out of 5. So we probably need to convert that into percentage. So we're just going to divide that by 5. And just going to make sure my brackets are right. And then we probably want to times it by 100 at the end as well. Perfect. So this is our weighted average score. Right. We might want to do some analysis on this as well. So it might turn out actually, maybe we're having more success when our dates are in a certain location. You can easily do that within this system. A couple of ways of doing that. I could click on this plus sign and I could click on more views. And I could click on map and open that into a board. So here, just a really nice way of just being able to visualize where exactly my date locations are. So Deborah's in Hillingdon, Katie's in West Hampstead. What you can also do is you can also add a widget and start building bar charts around this. It's worth noting, if I want to build a bar chart with the location as a specific variable, I will need to convert this into a text field. So let's quickly do that. Change column type, change that into a text. Keep changes on that. And then let's go back and add this as a widget. So I'm going to click on chart, click on here, click settings, and I just need to change the X and Y axis. So the X axis is going to be location and the Y axis is going to be that weighted average that I picked. So great, we can see that clearly there is a correlation, right, between the weighted average, how well these dates are, my gut feel, versus the actual location that we're going on these dates to. So maybe, you could argue that I need to be going on more dates in Ruislip. I'm going to now go back as well. And again, we can follow this same process over and over and over again when it comes down to automations. I could say, let's build out an automation, and I could say something like, when status changes to something, then do something else. So let's say the stage changes to we're going out, then we could move that item to in a relationship. Give this a couple of seconds to load, and we could also say another one. We could say, when status changes to something, then again, do something else. So when stage changes to situationship or friendship, then we've also got an archive item as well. So again, it's very simple and very easy to start really building our flow. If I click on this X, again, we can give this a go. So let's say I was going out with Katie. I could click, not there, but I could click on we're going out. And we're now going to see Katie now drop down to the actual view. There is a lot that you can do with this system when it comes down to integrations as well. So if you go over here and click on integrate, as mentioned, you've got the ability to integrate with Gmail, Outlook. You can, of course, as well integrate with things like Slack. Twilio as well is a very interesting integration that you could have. So it's the ability to send, for instance, SMSs or text messages to individuals. Here at Omnitas, we use a tool called Make. Make is effectively a tool that sits in between Monday.com and pretty much any other platform that we can connect to. And what that really means is that we can pretty much make the system do a lot of different things. So we could have automatic text messages being sent out to, in this case, Katie, for instance. We could hook it up to ChatGPT so that every time Katie's responding, that message is now coming back into monday.com. We're sending it off to ChatGPT. It's then creating a message to send via Twilio to Katie's phone. So, the possibilities with this actual platform are endless. I'm going to take a bit of a breather there. Is there any questions so far, Robbie?
No, no questions at the moment. But guys, do feel free just to pop them in if you have them, and we can get Kuren to answer them.
Okay. Guys, look, thank you very much for attending today's webinar. I really hope that you got a lot out of it. If you've got any questions as well, feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn. You can also visit our website, omnitas.com. But thank you so much as well for your time. Thank you.